Somewhere in a warehouse, right now, there's a robot that will never legally have a successor sold in America. Not because it failed a safety test, not because it broke, but because of the country where its motherboard got soldered together. Welcome to Tomorrow Unveiled, where we break down the news of the future for you. On July 28, 2026, the FCC quietly rewrote the rules for every robot body trying to enter the United States. Not the robots already here, those are fine. It's the next ones. The ones still on the drawing board. And the mechanism they used has nothing to do with how smart a robot is, or how well it walks, or how cheap it is to build. It's about where it was made. Today we're pulling apart what that actually means. For the machines, for the companies racing to build them, and for a question that used to sound like science fiction. Who gets permission to cross the border if you're not human? Here's the cleanest fact in this whole story, and it's also the most consequential one. On July 28th, the FCC added something called Foreign-Produced Advanced Robotic Devices to its covered list. That's the federal government's registry of tech deemed too risky to greenlight. The agency's own fact sheet defines the category plainly: mobile robots like humanoids and quadrupeds. And once something lands on that list, it's barred from getting a new FCC equipment authorization. Now, that phrase sounds bureaucratic. It isn't. For almost any connected electronic device, that authorization is the passport. No authorization, no legal import, no legal sale, no legal marketing in the United States. It's the door everyone has to walk through. So let's be precise about what this is not. It's not a recall. It's not a raid on your garage. The FCC says previously acquired devices are untouched and previously authorized models can keep selling. The hammer falls on the future tense, on the robots that haven't been built yet or haven't been certified yet. Which means the real headline isn't America banned a gadget. It's that America just installed a checkpoint at the edge of an entire emerging category of machines, and every future model has to clear it before it ever reaches a store shelf. Why would the government care this much about a machine that folds laundry or walks a warehouse floor? Because of how it now sees that machine, not as a gadget, but as a node. The national security determination behind this action, quoted in the FCC's own materials, says the networked capabilities of advanced robotic systems create, in its words, extensive vulnerabilities and vectors for attacks that can manipulate the data and physical operation of the device. It goes further, warning that these robots collect data that could let malign actors surveil Americans, boost foreign intelligence work, or remotely commandeer the machines. That's the government's framing, straight from the determination. Not an independently confirmed incident log, but the risk case the agencies built the rule on. And that's the shift worth sitting with. A humanoid robot used to live in our heads as a labor story, or a novelty story, or something you'd see in a viral demo video. Now it's also a cyber-physical object, a moving stack of cameras, microphones, mapping software, and network connections. Once a government starts looking at a robot that way, the comparison set changes completely. You're no longer next to factory arms and demo reels. You're next to routers, you're next to drones, you're inside the perimeter. Here's the detail almost nobody caught on first read. The public notice doesn't name a single company, not one. It targets a category, defined by where the thing was built, not who built it, and not where the company that sells it is headquartered. That distinction matters more than it sounds like it should. A market can dodge a ban on one company pretty easily, just switch suppliers. It's much harder to dodge a rule built around geography of manufacture, because that follows the component parts, the assembly line, the whole supply chain, not a logo. So the logic here isn't we don't trust this specific brand. It's closer to, for this entire class of machine, where it was physically produced is itself treated as a security variable. That's a different kind of policy than a blacklist. It's industrial sorting, dressed up as a security notice. And it reaches every foreign-produced robot that fits the definition, not just the famous ones making headlines. Quick gut check. When you picture advanced robotic device, what shows up in your head? Probably a humanoid. Maybe a robot dog. That's what the early coverage ran with, because those machines are visually dramatic and easy to put in a headline. But follow-on reporting and the FCC's own FAQ material point somewhere wider. This category, as defined, can reach a lot more than showpiece humanoids. It stretches toward the broader class of networked, ground-based robots, including future robot vacuums and similar autonomous machines that meet the same technical criteria. Weight over 4.4 pounds, sensors, a network connection, software that steers movement or perception. That's a surprisingly low bar. And that's the quieter, bigger story. If the same national security lens now reaches machines that map your living room and dodge your coffee table, the line between consumer gadget and strategic technology isn't nearly as clean as most people assumed. Nobody's waiting for a walking, talking Android future to arrive before applying this frame. It's already being applied to ordinary machines moving through ordinary homes. Hey, real quick, if you're finding this useful, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and flip on notifications. This story's going to keep moving fast, and you don't want to miss where it goes next. So what actually breaks and what doesn't? The FCC went out of its way to answer that clearly. Devices you already bought, fine. Models that already cleared authorization before July 28th, still sellable, still importable, still legal to market. Federal government purchases and use? Also untouched by this specific action. What doesn't survive is the pipeline, the next generation. The models that haven't been certified yet now face a brand new checkpoint. And companies building them have three options. Prove the machine meets a new national security bar, restructure where and how it's manufactured, or walk away from the U.S. market entirely. That's not a dramatic, visible shutdown. No trucks getting turned away at ports, no robots getting unplugged mid-shift. It's quieter than that, and honestly more durable. It's the kind of leverage that doesn't erase what already exists. It just bends what's allowed to come next. Which, if you think about how industrial policy usually works, is exactly the point. But here's the twist. This isn't an absolute wall. There's a side door, and it's called conditional approval. Both the fact sheet and the underlying notice describe a path where a producer can apply to have their device, or a whole class of devices, cleared despite sitting on the covered list. For robots specifically, that review runs through the Department of War, using a guidance document the agency published alongside the order. Clear that review, and the device drops off the list. Eligible for authorization again. Oh, and if you're watching this on your phone, there's a hype button right below the video. Tapping that actually helps a channel our size get seen by more people, so if you've got a second, we'd appreciate it. What this side door tells you is that the robot business in America is starting to look like other strategic hardware markets. The kind where getting to market depends as much on proving political and security acceptability as it does on beating a benchmark. Companies now need compliance strategies sitting right next to their engineering roadmap. That's genuinely new for this industry, and it's not going away. Just a few weeks ago, the biggest robotics story in the world was about software, whole body control, dexterity, whether the robot's brain was finally catching up to its body. This story doesn't replace that one. It adds the floor underneath it. Because here's the thing. Even if the models keep getting smarter and the motors keep getting cheaper, none of that matters if the machine can't legally enter the market it's built for. Deployment, now runs through a completely different set of gatekeepers, regulators, supply chains, national security reviewers, and a permission structure that decides which bodies are even allowed in the room. And that's why this story earns its place today. Most coverage still treats robotics as a question of whether the demo is real. The sharper question, the one this rule forces onto the table, is what happens after the demo works. Who built it? Where? What it's quietly collecting while it walks around your office or your living room? The robot race was always about capability. As of July 28th, it's just as visibly about sovereignty. And that's a variable no spec sheet was ever built to measure. So where does that leave us? Origin-based restrictions and genuine technical security aren't the same thing. A robot built in the right country isn't automatically a safe robot, and a foreign-built one isn't automatically a spy. That tension doesn't resolve here, and it probably won't resolve soon. What we do know is that the ground under this entire industry just shifted. Market access, manufacturing geography, and government sign-off are now sitting right next to dexterity and cost on the list of things that decide whether a robot ever reaches your door. The bodies are catching up to the brains. And now, apparently, so is the border. Thanks for spending this time with us. We'll keep tracking every conditional approval, every carve-out, every new model that tries to cross this line, because if the drone precedent is any guide, this list is just getting started.
Let the future be your guide with all the knowledge deep inside.